We're going to have a look at a very interesting video in terms of where allegiances lie. We're also going to have a look at some very interesting scholars who are saying that Irish people are inherently racist and the country has gone to the dogs. And we'll juxtapose that with a couple of articles that pretty much debunks it, but most people will never get to see them. Before we get into it, if you can do me a favour, if you could like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. Cheers. I came across this video over on TikTok yesterday from DGE Media Official. It's outside a migrant hotel. The police are doing their job in terms of protecting foreigners and not the indigenous people. They're interviewed here by a lad. I don't know him. It looks like they're doing decent work, these guys over here, but it was so telling. Just even before they spoke, you could tell exactly where allegiances were lying. So I think we should just take a little look at this.
Can I ask you guys a personal question, right? Do you not feel in your soul, right, that you're in conflict with what's right? Because in reality, the government are betraying everybody, especially the actual residents and the inhabitants of this country, right? And you're working on behalf. I understand, like on an everyday level, you police everyday crime, etc. That needs to be done. It's just an everyday job. But when it comes to stuff like this and protecting things like this, right? These are like attacks on our nation, and you're like us. We are the group of English people. You know, it's like how do you reconcile that working for the state in that way? It would drive me crazy. I'd be like, oh my god, I'm literally working for an immoral, evil organisation.
Before he even finished the question, you could see the boys were working overtime in their head, trying to figure out a diplomatic answer that didn't make them look brutal, but unfortunately, everything they said made them look brutal.
No, our priority as the police is to very much make sure that there are people who have views and there are people who have conflicting views. Our role as the police very much is helping people be able to express their opinions safely. You know, people have human rights, expression.
Except for when it's harassment, alarm, distress, right, which could be anything. And if it's incitement to racial hatred, which could be anything. So reality, the police are a political force. Like, for instance, used to wear those like rainbow Union Jack flags and stuff. A lot of people used to wear that type of stuff. These are all political statements. So to say that the police are impartial is just like a nonsense, really, isn't it?
The cop tries to play this angle of we're here as unbiased spectators trying to keep the peace and make sure that this demographic of people are allowed to have their opinions and this demographic of people are allowed to have their opinions, and we're just trying to keep the peace and we're so unbiased. He gets absolutely smashed on the LGBTQ topic because that's just one of many in terms of the police parading around with that sort of like garb on. It's pathetic and is actually sending a message of support in one direction of an ideology. And by default, if you disagree with that point of view, which the police seem very happy to espouse, then obviously you're in the wrong, right? Because they're holding positions of power. And it's not just the LGBTQ stuff, it's the climate stuff, it's the COVID stuff, it's the immigration stuff, which we get to right here.
But it's just factually not true, because there are people that are locked up in the UK for saying the wrong thing. You know, on the internet, etc., or airing a video, or anything that's construed to be, for instance, like say anything against a particular religion. People will do for racial hatred, even though that religion isn't anything to do with an ethnic group or anything like that. Or even if like in America, you're allowed to be critical of an ethnic group if you want to be, because that's just your opinion. Like, so in reality, the British state is not impartial at all, and seeks to interfere and work against the interests of you and me, all of us, on like a real level, right? On like a level like you know. You have to admit it. It's like it's not professional for you to admit it, right? But you know that we are us and they are them, aren't they?
Look, you've got your views. Other people have their views. Someone else has something completely and utterly different. Okay. What my colleague said is that we have to make sure that everyone has them and it all happens at the same time. We do.
Obviously, it's a simple enough question, right? These guys, even if they did agree with the interviewer, they're not going to admit it on camera, obviously, right? But I think there's a lot of people out there probably misconstruing the situation in terms of, look at these two cops, they clearly agree, they don't really have an argument in terms of impartiality or anything bullshit like that. And this guy then just starts regurgitating, protecting everyone's opinions after he just pretty much admitted with his face that yes, there are British people being arrested every single day and imprisoned for what they say, but the actual message in which we align with and which we are protecting, that's the right message, and these people aren't condemned, and these people aren't prosecuted, and these people aren't in prison. So it is a two-tier system. It's exposed extremely badly here by these two lads. I wouldn't give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of, well, behind closed doors they feel such and such a thing. We know that so many people are programmed, indoctrinated, and just mentally ill. And I don't care how patriotic you are for your country or how many members of your family have worked in the police force, standing up outside a British hotel protecting foreign people, arresting, condemning and supporting the idea of British people going to prison by your actions and by the organisation that you work with and the company that you keep. I think that's treacherous. And we have seen numerous protests sparking out of alleged assaults by these protected migrants in these beautiful 4- and 5-star hotels. As of recently, it just has exponentially started to grow. And I believe rightly so. I don't think we're going to reach this place where there's a decision being made by the police and there's going to be some sort of civil war. That's not going to happen. This is going to be a long and dragged out process. These people are still going to assault. These people are still going to intimidate locals. These people are still going to be protected by the police, by the mainstream media, by the government. Every tool in the box is being used to silence the indigenous people of Britain, UK, Western countries. Just last night we saw this UK Online Safety Act come into effect, promising a safer internet, which is a spoof, of course. It's a complete lie. It's not about a safer internet. It's not about protecting minorities, even though white people are the minority of the world. It's about threatening your privacy, eradicating your free speech, another drilling of hate speech laws. This one will include private messaging, the company you keep, age restrictions for putting out content, pretty much a hardline attack on people covering these protests, people enlightening the rest of the country who have no idea this is even happening. And this is what we're going to see drag out. A totalitarian attack on the people that's going to get 100 times worse than what we've seen beforehand. More people are going to be imprisoned. Does that mean people should stop? Absolutely not. You have to keep pushing back on these absolute scumbags. Check this dude out over here in Ireland, Dr. Umar Al-Quadri. Guy's a Muslim activist living in Ireland. He's trying to talk about singing the Irish national anthem and that Muslims are more patriotic than the hundreds of thousands of people that have come out on the streets of Ireland in March in the last couple of weeks. And this scholar is putting out absolute bangers like, over the past 2 years, racism has become increasingly visible in Ireland, something many are now noticing both at home and abroad. Ireland has long stood as a powerful example of warmth and welcome, but that reputation is now at risk. Right-wing extremism, often imported from UK and US actors and echoed locally, is radicalizing young people and fueling division. I thought that was an absolute cracker. Patriotism and radicalism is all being imported from the UK. No, bro. That's where the majority of your crew are coming from and assaulting people. We urgently need stronger integration supports, asylum reforms, managed immigration and inclusive education in schools to counter disinformation. A balanced, forward-looking approach can preserve the social cohesion Ireland is known for. I've got a better idea. How about you and all the people you protect and all the people that you acclimate with and all the people that are extremely tribal as opposed to the Irish people should fucking leave? And then we will have a nice little bit of Irish cohesion again. Irish cohesion doesn't include thousands and thousands of Muslim men taking over. Not in my book anyway. And this guy is talking about the uptick in racism within Ireland. I wonder why. Indian health worker avoids prison for assaults on patients in hospital emergency department. Indian man who assaulted a concert goer at Marley Park given a suspended sentence. Indian male nurse who coerced and assaulted a co-worker in a care home avoids jail. Indian man who assaulted a 14-year-old on a bus given suspended sentence. Foreign national man forced his stepdaughter to watch while he assaulted her mother in Tipperary. Man who's living in the country 3 weeks assaults an elderly landlady and he gets a suspended sentence. So you see a pattern here in terms of foreign nationals who just bounce into the country, assault our women. You have the judicial system responding, kind of like the 2 police officers at the beginning of the video, in terms of a shrug of the shoulder. We got to protect these people. Avoiding jail sentences for seriously assaulting Irish people. Okay. This foreign lad used a fake passport to get 40,000 in welfare and got a suspended sentence. Why are these people not being locked in prison? Man who had disgusting vile videos of a 13-year-old girl on his phone avoids a jail term after being caught flying into Dublin to meet her. Man jailed for assaulting a woman after her boyfriend left for work. Man 38 assaults vulnerable Leaving Cert student as she walked home. Man who assaulted young woman that he met over social media jailed for 5 years. We're at that stage of a powder keg moment. The more they push us in terms of offering compensation to foreign nationals who aren't housed within the first 5 minutes of entering the country, that's going to drive people insane. Introducing hate speech bills to quell them actually voicing their opinion, it's going to drive people insane. And believe it or not, these absolutely vile foreign rats coming into our country, assaulting our young girls, and then having a jail sentence suspended and being allowed to walk free in the streets while we continue to pay for them to be here, is going to make people angry, it's going to make people mad, and we're going to continue to see these protests break out across the board. If any of that made sense, let me know down below. Cheers.